who is guilty is the media, the government, the FBI, right, for investigating it, because now we know, based on this Durham report, that there was no evidence to suggest that this was true. Yet they investigated these claims anyway, despite no evidence that there was anything that there was to investigate. In contrast to the decisions regarding Hillary Clinton, because they will acknowledge that there was far more evidence that Hillary Clinton did something wrong than Donald Trump. Yet why wasn't Clinton investigated? Because it didn't fit the political agenda. Trump, right, was investigated because of politics, because of what he was associated with. He was a bad guy because he was a Republican or a conservative, even though I don't even regard him as a conservative, but the left thinks he is, right? That's their definition of a conservative. And so he was a bad guy. And so therefore, the investigators either deliberately did this out of politics, or their judgment was just compromised. That because of their own personal perspective, that clouded their judgment. And so they assumed the worst out of Trump, because they just assume he's a bad guy because he's a conservative. And they gave Clinton the benefit of the doubt because, she's a good guy or gal, right? She's one of the good ones. She cares, right? She's a Democrat, so she's good. And so we'll cut her some slack, right? So it's a bias in the regulatory body. And of course, these are all bureaucrats. These are all government people. So they're going to be biased to like government because they work for government, right? So they want to see themselves as the good guys, working for this benevolent government. And so if somebody is critical of government, maybe a conservative libertarian, well, they're bad. And this is further reinforced by what's going on with this FBI whistleblowers hearings. If you've seen any of those, but you had these 3 guys that were fired for blowing the whistle, which you're not supposed to. I mean, there's all these laws to protect whistleblowers. Unless, of course, the person blowing the whistle is a conservative, blowing the whistle on some liberal, well, then you've got no protection whatsoever. You're just a tattletale. We got to fire you, right, for tattling. But, they're actually making it out like these whistleblowers are a bunch of traitors. And in fact, what they were doing was standing up for the rights of Americans. Because if you're working for the government and you think that some of your associates in your department at the FBI, if they are, violating the rights of other Americans because they're weaponizing their power, they're using their authority, the color of law, to go after and target people due to their politics, due to what they believe in. And this is the ultimate corruption of government, using government force to silence opposing political views. And so what was going on here is you had parents, right, say they were opposed to masking up their kids during COVID, or maybe they didn't want their kids exposed to a lot of this transgender stuff at a young age, when they really shouldn't be exposed to anything related to sexuality. I mean, let them enjoy kindergarten, right? You don't have to, hit them over the head with all this stuff. So you have some parents that disagree, or also you had some stuff with January 6th, and all of a sudden the FBI is all over these guys, like, they're selling nuclear secrets to the Russians during the Cold War, and and you have some people in the FBI like blowing the whistle on these other people that, hey, you are mistreating American citizens. You are, using your power, right, to punish people for their beliefs, and you are unfairly persecuting American citizens, right? And so they're blowing the whistle, and instead of being rewarded, they're labeled traitors and they're fired. Traitors to who? They're not traitors to the people. See, they're traitors to the government, right? If the government is corrupt and you try to blow the whistle on that corruption, you're a hero to the public. But the government doesn't look at you as a hero. They look at you as a villain, as a traitor to what they're doing. But again, they think what they're doing is good, right? If they believe, right, that they're on the political high ground, right, they can't see the ill effects, right? They don't see the adverse consequences. They just assume we're the good guys. And so it doesn't matter what individual rights are, individual liberties. It's the ends justifies the means as far as the left is concerned. So if somebody blows the whistle on due process, on the rule of law, on innocent until proven guilty, on all this, on abuse of power, if they're blowing the whistle on something that the left thinks is good, well then, you're not a whistleblower. You are a traitor and you're going to get fired. And that's what happened in this circumstances. And that's what happened to me. A lot of people, and on my last podcast, I talked a lot about, what's going on with my defamation lawsuit in Australia. And people are like, who cares? We don't want to, a lot of people, we don't care about this. This is a big thing because it ties into everything that we're seeing with the whistleblowers or with the Durham report. Only I've got firsthand knowledge of this. The rest of it, I'm learning just like everybody else. I'm watching the news, I'm reading stuff, but I live this. And so I can give everybody firsthand knowledge from my own experience about how I was persecuted by the government for my political beliefs that I expressed. Why did the IRS investigate my bank? Why did the Justice Department investigate my bank? There was no evidence that anybody at my bank did anything wrong. The only thing there was me, my beliefs that I espouse on this podcast, that I espouse in interviews that I do on television, right, with the press. It was my beliefs that were the basis of the entire investigation. It's not an accident that they picked my bank. Look at all these other banks in Puerto Rico. Why didn't they investigate them? What about all these other banks all around the country? What about FTX? I mean, they weren't a bank, right? But they were in the Bahamas, right? Bankman-Fried, he was just a couple of islands away from me, right? The same area. Why didn't all these guys that were investigating my bank, why didn't they investigate Sam Bankman-Fried over at FTX? Because that guy had the opposite political opinion of me. He was out there virtue signaling, talking about global warming and all the buzzwords that were important. And he was lavishing all kinds of money on all these Democrats. I didn't give a nickel to any of these Democrats, right? I didn't pay these people off. So he was a good guy because he was a major donor to the good guys, to the Democrats who cared. And of course, he cared, right? He was out there saying, I don't want to make any money. No, I'm earning to give, right? That's the only reason I want to make money, so I can give it all away, right? So I'm an unabashed capitalist. I don't apologize for capitalism. I don't apologize for making money, right? I think we all have, that's it. That's our birthright. That's the pursuit of happiness. How do you pursue happiness? You got to make some money, right? To buy the things that make you happy. Now, there are some things that you don't have to buy to make you happy, but most of us, the things that we want, right? We got to earn the money to pay for them. And even if it's not, if we just want to put food on the table, you got to earn that too, right? In a real economy, you want to eat, you got to go out there and you got to kill something, or you got to earn enough money to pay somebody to kill it for you. But you got to eat, right? You need a roof over your house. So either you build the house yourself, or you get a job and you earn some money and you pay somebody else to build it.